first thing to do is give you a quick synopsis and open up for questions. I think, speaking of the past game, obviously we challenge the guys to. We have a standard. We try to play to that standard. We try to improve on the little things each and every week. But it all starts with the three things that we've talked about for a long time. It starts with that we want to be a great effort team. We want to be physically and mentally tough, and we want to tackle well. And all those things were very evident in last night's game. But we'd also challenged them that we wanted to. We'd been a good defense, but it was at some point in time you got to take the next step and go from good to really good to be, play like an elite defense. And they took that challenge very seriously, I think. And what they did is, outside of a couple of plays, they really did a good job of doing the first priority we had in the game, which was to, people say stop the run. That's a little bit of a cliche. I don't know that anybody's ever, just completely, every now and then it happens where it's negative yards, but it's very, 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 very rare. But obviously they've got 2 or 3 or 4 of the most dynamic tailbacks in this conference, which makes them 2 or 3 or 4 of the best tailbacks in the country. They've run the ball very proficiently against other teams and very good teams. But I think the thing that happened was we had really good run fits. We had guys did their job. They owned their part, their piece of real estate. If they had the B gap, they played in the B gap. And then we had some good secondary and linebacker support fitting in to where their fits were. Our fits were really good versus the run game. Then the other thing is Dontavius Russell and Marlon Davidson and Derek Brown really did a very, very good job. There's numerous plays in there where they had their gap owned, cleared their gap, and they physically wiped across the block and made a play. So I think it starts and ends, like we've always said, with the guys up front: Nick Coe, Jeff Holland, Andrew Williams, Derek Brown, Marlon Davidson, and Dontavius Russell. Those guys on tape last night knew their job and did their job, and it made it really easy for the back end to fit it on the run. Now, in terms of the synopsis of the game, the first drive was not like what we wanted, but there was not any state of panic or anything. They hit, credit to them, I think they hit a 38-yarder on the third down, and it was a good play. We had good coverage. It was good throw, good play. And the very next play, they hit a 28-yarder in which we just made a mental error, uncharacteristic mental error, but it was a mental error. So we gave them that. And it wasn't anything. They still hadn't run the ball yet on us, and so we just got them over and calmed down. It was more of anything else of just getting guys calmed down because they were probably a little bit too wired up. Not a little bit, they were. And we just had to tone it down a little bit and get back to focusing on doing your job, which they did that. The rest of the game, the run game, was basically what it is, 46 yards against one of the best rush offenses in the country. They were before the game, and they still are today. That's just who they are. We had great play by the defensive line that helped us affect that. In the pass game, when it was really in balance, I think probably the only thing that they missed a throw where they had the flea flicker where they handed it to the running back, and for obvious reasons, everybody in the town of Auburn that lives here attacked the run on that play, including our 2 safeties, and the guy was behind him. He missed the throw. So that's when you know you're living right. And then the next time they tried it, we got a sack. So, and they made a few plays in the pass game, and we gave them a few plays in the pass game, being overzealous toward the run game. So, we got to work on that with our eye control. But proud of the guys. They stepped up to the challenge. They answered the challenge, and we've got to build on this and go forward.
Considering the caliber of rush competition that was, and knowing how statistically excellent that was, have you ever coached a front seven that had that kind of performance against that caliber of competition?
Yeah, I've been part of, but obviously I didn't play. I was still just a coach. I know one year against Colorado and Nebraska when we were, had that winning streak going, and they were in the top 10. We had a performance like that, and there's been others, but I specifically remember that one. I've been on the other end of it too, where they had a good rush offense, and you had a really, really good defense, and they're still running. We ain't stopped them yet. So, you know, a credit to our guys for getting it done. But I've seen it in 38 years. I've seen it. But with the way they've been running it, 270-something yards a game against good opponents in the SEC, you know, I thought our guys really answered that challenge. And probably, I know if you ask me 38 years from now, which, knock on wood, I'll remember Saturday night.
Since getting Jeremiah Denson back healthy, how much has he just kind of helped things, maybe change the defense a little bit, what we can do?
Yeah, well, Jeremiah, when he's healthy, obviously we can, there were times in the last 3, 4, 5 games in which at different points and times in the game or a whole game in which we had to call things a little bit to help him because he is the quarterback. He's really, really smart. He gets everybody lined up. He knows, he calls out routes before they run based on motions and shifts. So he's really smart in that regard, but he was a little gimpy, and so we had to help him a lot. That was not the case Saturday night. He was back full healthy, and we could leave him on an island if we need to be because, you know, he's like a corner, but he's tackling really, really well. I think that's probably the biggest missed thing in that game is, you know, we always talk about, well, we missed a few tackles. I thought the guys were really, I know, I've watched the film several times, we tackled very, very well.
How many tackles you guys had?
I think we had 4 or 5.
That's it.
And that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
How did Andrew Williams play?
Andrew affected the line of scrimmage. He had a good, solid night and affected the line of scrimmage. I don't remember. I could look it up, but I don't remember exactly how many snaps he had. But yeah, that's a good thing about it. We can rotate guys, and he's an effective rotation guy.
Yeah, we heard that Trey Williams was healthier than he'd been in a while, and he played really well. Did you see kind of that old Trey Williams last night?
Yeah, I did. You know, I mean, we still have to, you know, be prepared for because he's playing with an injury. It still is there, but he's healthier than he's been in a long time.
Kevin, does the idea of not panicking after they make it 7-0 just speak to the experience level that you have on your defense, especially up front, the leadership that you kind of have?
Well, I think our guys know their identity. They know who they are, and they're comfortable in their own skin. And they know they're playing in the SEC, and they know that at this point in time in the season they're playing very good offenses in the SEC. So, you know, everybody shows up at the stadium and is disappointed if anybody gains a yard or scores a touchdown. Well, so are we, but we can't respond like that. We can't get emotional. We got to play the next play. We can't let it affect us. And I think they bought into that process in a major way. And as I was talking on the headset, I could hear them as Greg and Travis and Rodney was going over their stuff, and we were going over the drive of you know, them talking about, hey, next play, calm down, guys, let's play the next play, we're good. So, you know, they're speaking the language, and I think they really mean it, and they understand it, which is a step in the process.
Sorry. Your players last night were talking about how they were just playing loose last night, and they were dancing on the sidelines a lot, having fun. And he said that the coaches, you guys talked about that maybe a little bit in practices, just about how just to go out there, let the pressure, not let feel the pressure, have some fun.
Well, that's always. I mean, that's what we've been built on for 21 months now. Is that, you know, the pressure comes. Let us take the pressure. You just play. So we're going to be simplistic. You know, we give you the 3 properties that you've got to be, and we'll take care of the rest. But you know, you're talking about the dancing. 38 years, that's changed. That's a little bit different. But you know, the big thing is energy and enthusiasm is great in football. Now, you can't get so involved in that you lose your edge, you know, because you're not at the club. You got to go back out there and play. And so, you know, but and I think they were having fun. They enjoyed it, you know, and it's like anything else. You know, when you're doing your job, and you know when you're affecting things in a positive way, that gives you confidence, and that breeds confidence.
Have you had a chance to look at your Atlanta's offense and what do you think?
I have. They're very well coached. You know, they're really very well coached. They got a good scheme. They put pressure on people. You know, they'll involve the quarterback in the run game in a significant way. Throw the ball effectively. Got good receivers. So, I mean, we got to line up and execute at a high level to have the results we want to have.
Kevin, you were a nominee for it last year as well, but does the Royals Award mean anything to you as a special?
Well, it's like anything else. It's like any award that comes to a group in this business. I mean, this is not golf. We don't go out there and play with our own bag and our own clubs, our own ball, and everything counts for us. I mean, it's a group effort, and the players play. Coaches don't play. You know, so any award that comes, it's the players. It's the players. So my deal is whatever award that the group gets, they deserve it.
I mean, you've coached lots of groups, but I'm not going to ask you to compare groups or anything, but what's your relationship like with your players on this team at this time of year?
Well, I mean, you know, there's always that line. I mean, somebody's got to be in charge, and they know that. They respect that, and I respect their role. But we got a good group of guys, and they're very responsive to everything we ask them to do. We enjoy each other. We enjoy the challenge. We work really, really hard. We make things real hard on them. But I think the fact that the respect in the room that the coaches have for the players and the players have for the coaches, I think is real.
Deshaun Davis said you challenged them to be elite this week on Saturday.
Right.
And then take that first step. What is the difference to you between a good or great defense and an elite defense?
Well, you dominate your opponent in a way that, you know, play after play after play, that it affects the whole game in a major way.
And do you think they reached that?
They did for that time frame the other night. Now, we got to line them do it again in this business. But at least they know what it tastes like now.
Kevin, do you call Moultrie TD yet? Has he earned that? And how do you think he's played in the last few games?
Well, the thing that he's done is he's really the understanding of what we do and his responsibility within it, and doing his job, not just, you know, chasing the ball no matter where it is and what it is, where it's going. You know, you got a job to do because it may come back to you. I think just the understanding of it, technique, fundamentals, responsibility, accountability, you know, he's taken it very, very serious, and it's showing up.
Kevin, can you speak to the fact that you did get a dominating performance, the journey of it to get to here, that it wasn't just it's not just a 1 week thing, that this has been almost
No, it's
what you took over and what you inherited in the language translations that you had to put yourself through to do it. When did you know that you were capable of what you were able to do last year?
Well, I felt like when we went to spring practice the first year, that we had the talent on the grass to become a dominant force, and do it on a consistent basis. I thought the talent was there. The chemistry, the accountability, responsibility, the ability to play the next play and not let the what happened previously affect the next play. You know, that took some time. We've been getting closer and closer, and we're headed that way early in the season, and then we had some injuries, had to plug in some guys, had to cut some playing time on some guys, and I could see it affect some of the things, which is one of the things you can't do if you're going to be a dominant program on defense. But then as we started coming back, even in the Texas A&M game, you know, I saw some things in that we didn't do some things well on a couple of plays, 4 or 5 plays, but the rest of the game was, you could see them start really the way they had matured, almost like being, and I liken it to when I was on the NFL sideline, where there's no panic, there's accountability and responsibility to each other, there's guys talking to each other about, hey, you know, do your job, you know, those kind of things, the accountability, pressure, if you will, applied from your teammates to excel at a high level. And when they started taking that over, it really came from leadership. You could see the leadership develop and come about to where the Trey Williams and the Trey Matthews and the Marlon Davisons and the Dontavius Russells, the Jeff Hollands of the world, those guys, they command and demand it. So, you know, when it becomes inbred into each individual and the leadership, then it starts becoming a habit. But the hard thing is just to keep repeating it.
With Jeff and the season that he's having, just what's it been like to watch his progression since you've gotten here? And not just on the field, but the way he's kind of adopted that Sensei Mud persona. And the team and the fans have kind of really embraced it.
I kind of kid Jeff. I told him when I got here, I said, well, buddy, me and you are on about the same contract. We may be, both may be out of here quicker than we came in if we don't get going. So, you know, Jeff loves to compete, and he loves football. He really, really loves football, and you hear that, but, you know, sometimes you wonder, because of what's happened in football in terms of all the recruiting services, and everybody made a superstar before they ever get here, and then about the halfway through the process here, then everybody wants to say they're a first-round draft pick. So now it's about, you know, it was about I become famous with the stars, and now I want to become rich with the money. And so we're stuck in the middle of that. And occasionally you will get guys that you know, you say, do they really love the game? And when you've done it for 38 years, back in the day, as Kerryon Johnson says to me, back a long time ago when you were coaching at, you know, it was, you didn't have all of you guys. It just, you know, there's two guys that showed up, and they'd been there for 30 years, and they knew more about the team than you did. And so, you know, there wasn't all that. They just played because they loved it, you know. And I guess there's a couple of those guys still around, but you know, he plays the game because he loves to play football. And so when you have a work ethic like he's got, and you love to compete like he loves to compete, it doesn't shock you that he's where he's at all.
You said a couple of weeks ago that you were working ahead to the final 3 games of the season, this game, the ULM game, and obviously the Iron Bowl. With this week, I know it's the short-term focus this week, but when everyone knows what the stage is going to be in 2 weeks, Kevin, just how much do you try to spend time either just as a coach or even, yes, during practice to prepare for? No. I mean, it's just not the way it works. It sounds good, but I've grabbed that pot on the stove before. It's hot. It will burn you. So no, we did that in off season. We did it some in fall camp. Okay, limited knowledge of what, you know, was on the table, and then in the off week we got some. But this week is totally trying to have a dominant performance and repeat of last week in the stadium.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Kerryon. He's obviously on the other side, and you see him in practices. And probably don't get to watch as much in the game, but watching him run, the patience, the things he does he remind you of anybody that you coached against, just how he dissects a play from the running back position? Well,
to be honest with you, other than spring practice, which is very little, and fall camp, very little, I never see the offense. So, but I guess I never really thought about what kind of style he has. But you got to remember, you're talking about Barry Sanders, Thurman Thomas, Lawrence Phillips, Amon Green, you know, Spiller, Ingram, all those guys are a bunch of guys. They're all different. You know. But the great ones have ability to, you know, they've got great vision. No matter what their running style, whether they're a burst guy, whether they're a bounce guy, or whether they're a plowhead guy, the one thing they all have in common is vision, and that's what he's got. He's got great vision.
Kevin, you've been around games as big as games can be in this sport. And you talk about having to calm players down. How hard is it in the big games, that one yesterday, the one coming in 2 weeks, to get that done, to get guys relaxed and calm up so that it doesn't?
Well, that's part of the process. Once you've been in a program for a good while, you know, like I've been in a couple of programs that the success had been really, really high for a long period of time. That never happened very much, you know, Florida State, Miami, Oklahoma, Nebraska, another place in this game. And so it never happened very much. It was just focus on your job, do your job. That was just the way it was. But part of the process and the development of when you start having success and you start becoming, what you think you can be, is the emotional part of it is part of it too. So we're still working on that.
All right, Coach.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, appreciate it.